Hey guys, today I'm joined by Leon Streete. He's an author, a speaker, a marketer, a lead generation expert. He's written a book, More Leads, More Clients. He's agreed to join us here today and answer some of my questions about lead generation and how he helps his clients scale up their businesses. Leon, thanks a lot for joining us here today on the show. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into marketing?
Thank you for having me on the show. So a little bit about myself. I help startups right through to 8-figure businesses fix the biggest problem that most businesses have, which is marketing strategy. And there's a simple formula that I use, which I can accredit to learning from Dan Kennedy, which is the 3 M's, which is the golden nugget, if you would, in marketing is for everybody to achieve a message to market match on the right media. So it's the message, the market, and the media. And when you get all 3 connected, that's where the magic happens, because your message, whatever it is, whatever product you're pushing, promoting, selling, must match the market, so then the intended target audience or niche on the right media. And the media can be whether it's online, offline, face-to-face, Facebook, LinkedIn, doesn't really matter. But that's the key for any marketing to be successful. So how did I get into marketing? So just to kind of answer that question. It started when I was 14. First of all, I was a DJ. It was a hobby. And back then, because I'm 38, so a lot of the younger guys and girls who are watching this probably wouldn't even know what records are 12-inch vinyl. So I used to mix music, and by the time I got to 17, so 3 years later, I wanted to attract the attention of record labels, record promoters, event promoters who would book me as a DJ. And so what I did was set up a website. I created some mixes, uploaded them as MP3s back then in '97, so people could not only see who I was, they could download my mixes direct from the website. And I used it on all of the kind of marketing collateral that I would post to them. So I used to post out mix CDs, kind of like a DJ CV, you know, why they should book me or why they should consider me on their promo mailing list. And that was almost like the springboard for me. Marketing in its essence is communicating, you know, how to communicate with one human being and another. It's not all the technical wizardry in the middle, it's communication, because at the end of the day, we're selling to humans, unless you figured out how to sell to AI. But anyway, and so that's really, you know, the essence of what I realized. And then I went on this journey of university, continuing to create websites, because by then, the record labels and people who knew about my website started to ask me to create them a website, and that led into like creating ways to attract more customers. Back then was just different things like forums. You could do SEO. You could also do chat rooms back then. Do you remember those?
Oh, yeah.
Where there would be hundreds of people in there, and you could just kind of spam it, get traffic to your site. And there were just different things, and I learned along the way kind of, you know, the different things. And then ultimately the past 4 years have taught me what I learned in running my marketing agency for 10 years prior to the past 4 years, kind of what was possible in terms of delivering services. But I also learned more about me in terms of some failures that I've gone through in those businesses and what needed to happen in order to be a success. And my pivot 4 years, moving more into becoming a marketing coach and a speaker, talking on the topics of marketing and lead generation in particular, which is obviously what led me to creating the book. And the book's very, very new, really. So we're 14 days into November, and it was launched on the 1st of November. And, you know, this is really what I'm about, which is spreading the message and showing people how to connect to their audience, regardless of what tactics they're using.
Interesting. Okay. So when you first made this transition from your marketing agency to more of a speaker or an authority and helping coaches specifically do their lead generation, what were some of your earliest challenges when you made that transition in terms of your market?
My early challenges weren't the technology. I was very, very up to like high standards with technology, websites, all that kind of jazz. The biggest challenge that I had was, how does it all work? How do you go from attracting somebody by putting out a message, but then getting them to the point of wanting to book in a call with you and then selling them on that coaching service?
Yep.
Because obviously up until then, I was in a process of where people would find me, which is great because my marketing was working. I was positioned well on search engines and social media. And then I would do proposals after doing phone calls. But when it came to coaching clients, I'd never done it before. So what I needed to understand was like, what were the steps? And so I hired a coach. I spent £5,000, which was about, say, $7,000 at the time, and hired a coach who was in the marketing coach arena, and learned what she was doing. And which was interesting because being on the program showed me how she operated.
Sure.
It showed me the good things. It showed me the things that I thought could be improved.
Yep.
And then it filled in the blanks on some of the things like, oh, I actually do know the process. I just need to tweak it for coaches compared to what I was doing in my marketing agency for small businesses. And then and going through the process of then applying that over the next 12 months kind of filled in the gap. So, you know, I always know getting a coach is the fastest way to accelerate where you are, so long as they've already proven that they've done it for other people or themselves. And that's what I got a coach for, and that helped me.
Awesome. So is that how you started to land your clients after going through her program? You were able to
so I was already getting interest, but it was more about, because as an entrepreneur, I'm the type of entrepreneur that thinks of every part of the system, and I want to have the system done. I'm very meticulous like that. I want to know like what needs to happen next. Yeah, because that way I don't have to think about it once the system's created. And I really like to use my resource of time as best as possible. Even now we have systems for different things because I hate to have to either tell somebody the same thing or to go over and find out how to do something again, because I know it's just a waste of time because you just couldn't be bothered in the first place to document or at least, you know, be aware of what the key steps were. So by doing that, really, it just allowed me to just be effective, and then just to really start to get into being comfortable with it, with the change as well. Because, you know, if you pivot into a new business, it's exciting, but there's a certain level of discomfort because it's a new business. And so for me, it was just really getting the coach to understand the kind of the gaps in what I knew, but applying the things that I did know to the extra bit of knowledge that I got from her, and that was it. And away I went.
Fantastic. So what are some of the issues, like if you're dealing with coaches today, what are some of the things they're complaining about that they're coming to you to solve? You have a vast experience in terms of running a digital marketing agency, and then obviously the lead generation angle is what you're known for. Is that primarily what they're coming to you for? They're good at the technical delivery of their coaching, but looking for clients?
So most of the people, because I have 70% of my clients are coaches, 30% are small business owners. So I get people who just reach out to me. So for instance, yesterday I did a mastermind for a friend of mine who runs a mastermind in Essex, which is South England near London.
Yep.
Which is basically a 3-hour drive away from where I live. So I live further northwest. And everybody in the room was either £500,000 and above. And one client, one person in the room was a £5.5 million business, which is like about $7 million. And everybody had the same problem. They have either done successfully by selling a service or product using one particular channel or method, but they were looking, how do we grow to that next level? And the challenge is always the same. What happens is, for most businesses who are established, they forget what got them there. They forget the hard work and the strategy that they stuck to, and now what they're looking for is to replicate at that higher level. Whereas a startup, generally, they're trying to figure everything out, and it always comes back to, have you looked at your marketing strategy to understand, do you clearly know the problem that you're going to fix for your target audience? Do you know the root cause? Do you know the symptoms? And do you know the differences in terms of you compared to your competitors as a USP? So clearly understanding what your benefits are and taking that, wrapping it into a marketing campaign where your message is clear, so that you can trigger people at their resident dominant emotion and making a decision to buy from you. And that in its essence is the key to what most people come to me for, because you can go after generating leads on Facebook ads organically, you can do Google, you can do paid ads, you can do LinkedIn ads, you can do LinkedIn organic, many different things. You can do email marketing, offline marketing, networking. But if your message is wrong, none of it is going to produce the kind of results that you either hope for, or you're just going to be left disappointed.
Sure. So you must see patterns with working with many coaches. And I guess one of the things that I'd be curious about are people that are closer to the beginning of their journey. So let's say they're doing somewhere between 60,000 pounds and 100,000 pounds. And they're trying to get to that in America, it's the elusive 100K, right? The six-figure.
What is it? $8,333,
right? So I'm sure there's the equivalent in the UK with pounds.
Yeah, it's the same.
What is some of the struggles, or what are some of the things that you find yourself coming to them with in terms of understanding the fundamentals, executing against the fundamentals, and finding that one thing? Really, is there a pattern there that you see happening over and over again?
Absolutely. So I'm a marketing coach, right? But you'd probably not think that a lot of the time I have to speak to my customers about their mindset.
Okay.
That's the biggest pattern of a client or a company at that level, because what they're trying to do is to crack it, and you automatically become resourceful. And so what happens is the magpie syndrome hits everybody, and they're like, try this, try this, try. And before they know it, they're doing like 10 different tactics off the back of the strategy they're trying to implement, but 10 different tactics. And what happens is they start to become spread too thinly. And I have people who essentially know what needs to happen,
sure,
but because the results aren't coming fast enough, or they're not focused enough, which is the reality of it, they're not getting the results that they want, and so they start trying to look at different avenues to go get the result. And it's interesting, actually, because I was speaking at an event today, which is, as I said, why I'm kind of got my waistcoat still on and so on and the shirt. One of the big things that was mentioned by some of the other speakers there is the ability to push through and continue going forward even when things aren't going your way. And it's sticking power. And, you'll see all the famous quotes online where, it's those who were pig-headed enough not to quit who actually made it. And that is the reality of somebody who's under the six-figure mark, because getting past six figures is this. It's you being okay with saying, I'm going to charge more because I'm worth more. I have the value to show for it, but it's actually asking for it. And it's quite interesting, because somebody who's never done 100,000 or even 200,000 or more, how do they go from that level to start to command 2 times, 3 times their normal fee? Because it's so huge, and we, as entrepreneurs, sometimes we don't understand the weight that is on our shoulders because of false beliefs about what will the client say or how will the market react, rather than just doing it and let's see what happens.
Yeah.
And that's probably the biggest thing that I see.
Awesome. So right now you're doing a number of things that, in terms of, you just launched the book, like you said, at the beginning of November.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're obviously speaking, masterminds, and on stage, and coaching clients. Do you do client work as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I do one-to-one coaching, and then I do group coaching, but more as a year-long mastermind. My one-to-one coaching generally for clients who are doing like £500,000 or more.
Yep.
And then everybody else tends to join into my mastermind, and we meet up 4 times a year in person, and we do monthly calls as well.
Awesome. So how do you divide your time? Like, what percentage would you be spending on each of those activities?
That's a good question. I've never looked at it in terms of percentages. It's quite interesting because, like, for instance, today I was speaking, yesterday I was speaking, and before that I was 5 days in North Cyprus with a client doing one-to-one work.
Yeah.
And then for the rest of this week, I've got a bit of coaching calls. I've actually got one coaching call a bit later today, and then tomorrow I have a number of coaching calls, and then Friday it's less. So I'd say as a percentage, I'm probably doing coaching at the moment around about 30% of my time. And then in terms of business and management, probably another 20-25%. And then the rest is just time that I put aside for me to work on the business. Even things like putting the book together, all of those types of things. And what am I focused on next in terms of building my marketing assets? Because that's essentially, what the book is as well, a marketing asset.
Fantastic. So you brought up books. I see there's books behind you. What are some resources that you go to in terms of staying on top of your game? I know that you're a fan of Jay Abraham. You mentioned Dan Kennedy. What are some 1-2 books that you've read recently that you think would be applicable to newer marketers who are trying to master their craft?
I think for newer marketers trying to master their craft, I don't think it's on this shelf. It's on my other bookshelf over there. It's a Dan Kennedy book, and it's called The Ultimate Sales Letter.
Yep.
Yeah. And the reason why I refer to that is because a sales letter is effectively what everybody who is in marketing must understand. Because if you create, whether it's a video sales letter, a webinar, a long form sales letter, or you create even just like a Facebook Live or a video that you want to promote yourself in the right way and push eventually people to take an action buying your product or service, that gives you the outline structure of what you need to consider in order to understand how to do it the right way, so that you generate people through lead generation offers rather than just pushing the product, which is the wrong way to market your business. So that's a great book. The other one would be get this book, of course, one
nice.
of these clients, because in there it's intended, whilst there's some real high level concepts in there, it will also help the startup. But I think the other one for me, I'm looking behind me, is I don't think it's on this shelf. Actually here it is. Yeah, .com Secrets, Russell Brunson. It's another great book. It will work really well with Dan Kennedy's book and mine, and it will help any budding marketers or business owners who want to crack the code of marketing, because it's a lot simpler than we think it is. It's not how great your logo is. It's not how great your website looks. It's not even how great your business cards are or anything like that. The key is how well do you reach out, connect to people who are interested in what you have to buy, and get them on the phone and sell them something. If you do e-commerce, obviously it's how well you connect to people and get them to your checkout and successfully pay. But ultimately, if you're in a service-based business as a coach, consultant, small business owner, get people on the phone. And then my final recommendation would be to get Grant Cardone's Sell or Be Sold book, so you understand how to sell on the phone.
Awesome. So if we travel back in time, you're 37, 38 now.
I'm 38 now.
38, you got your family going. There's some people earlier in their journey, let's say 25. If we traveled back to when you were 25, what are 3 things you wish you would have known at that age that you've now gained the wisdom of time? And maybe share that with our audience so that they can benefit from those years of experience.
Mm-hmm. Cool. That's a real great question to ask. So the first thing is create a plan for the biggest possible dream you could create and where you'd like to be in 10 years, like the ultimate dream, like no limitations, the biggest plan possible. Yeah. So if you want to have a business that's 20 million, 100 million, whatever it is, fine. If you want to go help people in different countries, build schools, help charities, fine. Include it all in that plan. And then what I would recommend is take that end goal and reverse engineer, going back to 9 years, 8 years, 7, 5, 3, 2, 1, right to what you have to do in the next 30 days, the next 90 days, the next 180 days to build towards that plan. Yeah. So that way you have an idea in terms of financially what it's going to take, time, what you've got to commit to in order to make that happen, and then also 3, what knowledge do you need? Yeah, and this is all part of that point 1. And the knowledge is going to be what do you need to learn, like the books behind me. Which coaches or mentors do you need to find out who have been on a similar journey to what your vision or goal is, that big dream, but I'm calling it a vision goal, who've been there that you need to get in touch with, whether you need to interview them on a podcast like this, whether you need to hire them directly as your coach or mentor, because they will save you time, because time is the one thing you'll never get back. Number 2, just be prepared for it not to be comfortable. So when things go wrong, that's part of the journey, and be okay with it. When you can't find the answers and when you feel you're not good enough, just know that that's okay. It's part of the journey. You will experience that. There's a quote that you'll see online as well. It'll say, the magic happens outside of your comfort zone. It's the truth. But just know outside of your comfort zone could also be a very daunting place. You just got to keep going through. So number 3, keep learning, keep reading, keep consuming information that helps you towards that goal. So don't go off track, just stay focused with it. The people who win are the people who think long term. There are some people who are the outliers who become successful. Maybe they create an app, maybe they get bought out quickly, and it makes it seem like it happened overnight. Just know that for some people, they're just being connected to the right things in their life, and your journey is different, and it's meant to be different because you are different. That's it.
Fantastic. So completely off topic now, something you've spent 100 or 200 pounds on in the last couple of months that you're enjoying does not need to be business or marketing related. Just give us an insight into what you spend your money on that brings you joy.
Yeah, it's a great question, because I was really racking my brains when you asked me this earlier. I thought, what the heck did I spend? So I bought myself some Lacoste sneakers recently.
Nice.
They were about $60. I really like sneakers. So, and then the other thing was probably a pair of diesel jeans. So
there you go.
I do like clothes. I don't tend to buy loads of clothes, but the ones that I do buy, I make sure I invest in the ones that I really like. It's kind of like Steve Jobs. You always saw him in a black top and blue jeans. That was his thing, and I have the same thing of mine. On a business note, recently I bought a new tool which helps me with LinkedIn lead generation called Duck Soup. That helps me to generate more leads on LinkedIn. So there's one for everybody who wants to go research. It's about $13 a month, which is a great way to leverage your connections on LinkedIn, especially if you're going after B2B target audiences.
Fantastic. Where can people find you online?
Cool. So most people can find me online on leonstreete.com, and my surname is a bit funny because on the end of street is a silent E. Yeah. So I'm the only one in existence as far as I can tell. I've never found anybody else with the exact name, Leon Streete. So go to leonstreete.com. You can get me on Facebook and on LinkedIn or Instagram. I'm the only one that exists, so it should be pretty easy to find me.
Perfect. I'll make sure to drop it below. Leon, thanks for taking the time and joining us today. Really appreciate it. Guys, if you're still watching this, hit the thumbs up button. Give us a like. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit the subscribe button. And if you have any questions or comments, drop them below. I'm happy to engage with you here on the channel.